another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. My name is Patrina Wisdom. I'm an author, speaker, and wealth mentor. And today I have an opportunity to interview Miss Aarica Smith from Smith Strategies and Consulting. I'm super excited about this interview. I'm here in Atlanta. I've connected with so many amazing women, you being one of them.
Thank you.
And what I'd love to do to start off is to have you introduce yourself to the audience, but not what you do, who you are.
Well, good morning. So again, my name is Aarica Smith. I am the CEO and Chief Strategist of Smith Strategies and Consulting. But to your question, who I am a mother. I am a child of God. I am an executor. I love to do work. I am a creative graphic artist, and I am a business owner.
Okay, fantastic. And I'm very interested, you're in the nonprofit space, right?
Yes, I am.
So specifically the nonprofit space is something, we talked about this when we had our little intro call, that most people have a stigma around that there's not money in the nonprofit space.
Right.
I'd love for you to speak to that.
Absolutely. So actually, my first job out of Spelman College was a technical consultant in the IT world, dealt with a lot of telecommunication partners and clients. So leaving that job to go into nonprofit, I actually received a lot of disdain and comments about how I was never going to make it in nonprofits. There is no money in nonprofits whatsoever, so what are you doing? And for me, it was really about helping people. I really wanted to use my business acumen and really help others start nonprofits, manage their nonprofits, and really get involved in that space. So I did what I needed to do, went and got my master's at Savannah College of Art and Design, and went forward in a career of nonprofit, and I have not looked back since. That was about 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay, that's a good journey.
Yes.
That's a good run. And you've been doing this as an entrepreneur, that entire 10 to 12 year run.
So I have been doing this as an entrepreneur for about the last 6 years. So before that, I was working at nonprofit organizations, both local as well as national organizations. But I started to really wanting to use the skills that I learned in my graduate program and really help other people start their nonprofits and manage them as a consultant. So I started my consulting program actually on maternity leave with my first child.
Nice.
And wanted to really use the skills that I learned in my program.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Now listen, people don't get into nonprofit because they just woke up one day and said, oh, I'm gonna be a nonprofit. So there's always a story, and I'm very interested in finding out what led you down that path of nonprofit.
Well, for me, it's coming from a point when I was a child. So my mother in Memphis, Tennessee, which is where my hometown is, my mother has always been in the community. And as a child, I was dragged to a lot of events as a kid. So I was very familiar with the responsibility of giving back and the importance of doing so. So it just happened to be that the school that I went to in Memphis was a private school that really focused on community. So we were required to have community hours as we continued the matriculation through the school all the way through high school. Going to Spelman College, we are women who serve. And so that still continued in my life in college, where we were required to do service hours, but then it also just became part of who we were as Spelman women. Going forward, it just kind of kept going. I kept finding myself involved in the community and having more opportunities to really give, not financially all the time, but also my time and my effort. So learning a lot about the IT world and being a Black woman in technology really helped propel me into this space of being in the nonprofit world and helping people with technology, with operational support and management as well.
I love that. I love that. I've always been a nurturer, and I just love people. And, you know, I love to serve, and I've always looked for ways to serve. So like when I was doing massage therapy and aesthetics, I would go into group homes and do makeovers. And like, I think I was always a coach, like from the time I was a child, you know, I would listen to people and stuff. And then, of course, when you can, you give financially and things of that nature. I've always wanted to be a person who went out in the community more and served in that way.
Yes.
And it was always a challenge for me. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old. I've been a mother since I was 21. And so talk to me a little bit about how, I mean, obviously this is your career now, but in the past, when you were doing this just out of the goodness of your heart and wanting to be involved and being raised in a culture of service and giving back, how do you manage that as an entrepreneur, as a wife, as a mom, right? Self-care, all of that.
Well, for me, managing it is really interesting because I have to compartmentalize a lot of things. So for me, my time during the day, I wake up early before my kids get up and I set the tone of my day. I put in my journal what are the things I have to accomplish today and what are the things that are okay, if I have enough time I can do these extra things. But I am very serious about my time commitment to my family and my children, so when they are up, I am mommy. Once they are at school, I am working my business in the entrepreneurial space, and then when they come home, I turn that off and go back to mommydom. But it really is about taking the time and really understanding what my skill sets are as well as my passion points. So what I have been reading and learning more about is about your zone of excellence and your zone of genius.
Yes.
So my zone of excellence is really about the paperwork and the formulation of nonprofit organizations. I've done it so many times I can do it in my sleep. I've been doing it for years. But my zone of genius and where I really wake up in the morning with ideas and innovation is really into the operations and management for nonprofit and social enterprise organizations.
Okay.
So I really love to get into that space, and that is what keeps me going. That is what keeps my light burning at night when the kids are asleep, because I am just enthusiastic about the work that I can help other people putting stuff together to help move their missions forward.
I love it. I love it. And so how are you instilling or how are you instilling this spirit of service and giving back into your children? Do you take them with you? I know they're 4 and 6, right?
Yes.
They're young, so they're very impressionable at this point. So other than them seeing you work as mommy and entrepreneur, is there ways that you're putting this culture of service and giving back into them as well, intentionally?
So intentionally, the first thing that comes to mind is when we go through our clothes at the end of a season, or when we go through our toys, it really is about, okay, what are some things that we can give to other people? Let's put these toys away that we no longer play with, these books that we are no longer reading because we're wanting new books all the time. What can we do to give to other people so that they can have joy in the things that you don't have joy in anymore, but then also giving something to the community? So from a materials perspective, that is what we do as a household, is making sure that we're giving back and giving things to people that don't have them or are not as blessed as we are, so teaching them that. But as far as it goes in terms of community service, they're a little young to get involved in the formal community service activities, but I do talk to them about a lot of the activities my sorority does. We do a lot of giving in the community, so we gather food and we put it usually at my house. We gather a lot of the food, and my daughter is very into organizing all the cereal boxes, the milk, all of the different things on the table.
She's a little leader already.
Yes, she is, and she loves to do it. She's always talking about, Mom, can we help somebody? How can we do this? So it's very important for them to see when I'm going out to do work with organizations, when am I going out to do community service events with my sorority. They know what it is and they always want to be a part of it, even if it's in a small way, to say, Mommy, can I give this to your organization to help? Absolutely.
Aw, I love her already. She just sounds so sweet.
Yeah, she is. She's amazing. And my son is learning, he's 4, but he's learning the idea of, okay, I don't need this zebra anymore. Someone else can have it, Mommy.
Tell me a little bit then, because you mentioned that when you're mommy, and when you're in your business, you're in your business. And with COVID, we know that our business is in our homes for the most part now, right?
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit, my kids homeschool, so it's not as much of a transition, but for yourself who has kids that are in school or should be in school, and there's something that shifts and they can't be in school, how do you handle that? Like, how do you still continue to move your business forward, but have that presence with them?
Well, I will be remiss if I don't mention the partnership that I have with my husband. So we both work from home. Yes, love my husband. We've been together for 10 years married, 13 together. And we are partners.
Love it.
So he works at home, I work at home, and we figure out, okay, random Friday where the kids are home, what are we doing? Well, I got these meetings in the morning, you got these in the afternoon, let's switch shifts.
Fantastic.
But in our house, we are also teaching our children that there is time for independent play. You don't need mommy and daddy to always entertain you.
Right.
So while they are doing their type of work or independent play, we are working. And so they also are learning that mommy and daddy are working or they're on calls. We're going to give you time. And my daughter, who is 6, is learning how to tell time because of this.
Awesome.
So she is looking at, okay, mommy, you said 6 o'clock? Okay, at 6 o'clock. So she'll tell me, mom, at 6:01. I'm like, you're right, I promise. So making sure that our kids understand and normalize the fact that parents are working and we do this so that we can provide for you all, but then understanding that it's okay to be by yourself or you and your brother to entertain each other, and we work with you on that.
Yeah, so you're creating independent children that are responsible from a young age. And I know I always got a lot of slack with my kids because, you know, there's that culture of, oh, the mother needs to be there and do and be involved and all. You know, I still get that slack sometimes from my mom, but we won't talk about that. And in my opinion, and maybe this has something to do with being raised as an only child, I feel like our job is to raise adults, right? Like we need to raise them up to be adults and teach them, give them space to do things and learn and make mistakes. And so it sounds like you're doing a really good job at creating leaders, young leaders at a very early age, 4 and 6 years old. And the other thing I want to celebrate is your partnership. Because it used to be that it was like, for every successful man, there's a strong woman, you know, or a strong woman. And now I see the culture shifting majorly, where there are so many badass, bodacious women stepping up into their calling, out there doing it, right? Like CEOs and all of these things. And many of us have a man that's either supporting or working side by side with us.
Right.
And I don't think there's enough conversations about those men. So I want to honor you and celebrate you for that partnership, because partnership alone sometimes, or most of the time, is challenging. Can be very challenging, but then when you work in tandem, working under one roof, managing children, it can definitely cause a bit of a strain. So I love it. Anything else you want to share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the word that is key for me is partnership, right? My parents were divorced at a young age. I was 4 when they got divorced, and I did not get to see that in my home. And my grandparents were married, but that was a whole different generation.
Yes.
So for me, just like a personal story, I actually freaked out before we got married. Like I called my dad, I called my mom. I was like, what happened? What book do I need to read to make sure I don't get divorced? And what formula is there? And he's like, it's just not a formula, you know, you work at it. So for me, marriage is a partnership. It really is communication. I had to learn how to communicate with him, to say, this is how I'm feeling. Being vulnerable is not weakness. It's really just understanding, okay, we're in this together. We're not just husband and wife, we're partners with these kids. These kids are not going to deter us from our partnership.
Exactly.
And the kids need to see that too, that mommy and daddy, we work together. So yes, absolutely, it is a partnership to the core.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it really needs to be said that not only are there a number of ways to be in partnership, but there are a number of ways to have your marriage relationship structured as well. You know, we're fed these ideas that, you know, the woman should stay home, the man should go to work, like all of these things. And I have a wonderful partnership where when we first got together, my partner actually stayed home with my kids, not our kids, my kids. He went from 1 child to 5 children overnight. And he stayed home and he supported me in that way for a long time until he decided, you know, oh, I want to start doing this and that. And so I think flexibility is key in a relationship, and exactly what you said, communication.
Right, flexibility is definitely key because, again, my household does not look like everybody's household, and what works in my household may not work in everybody's. But my husband cooks. He's an amazing cook. Now, some people say, well, the woman should be cooking.
Yes.
But I'm working and he's cooking and he's working. working and I'm working with the kids, especially
Yes.
with COVID, and they still need to be learning things. So that's my role.
Yes.
So we have different roles, but whatever that partnership is between you and your partner, make it work between you two.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the feelings of obligation come from our feelings of unworthiness within ourselves, right? Because we've been fed all this bullshit. And so I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't go to the grocery store, I don't do laundry, I don't do anything other than, and it really was a journey for me to get to that point where I can be okay not doing any of those things, focusing on my relationship, my kids, and my business solely, and myself, because that's first priority, right?
First priority.
And knowing that this man's gonna love me anyway, and then oftentimes feeling like he loves me even more because of it, right? It's like, what? This happens? So I want to give the audience permission to play, to just test things out, see what works. And I also want to bring, shed some light onto the point that you were talking about, the skill sets that it takes to be successful in marriage and the skill sets that it takes to be successful in parenting, because it sounds like those same skill sets have been taken into your business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like for me, the vulnerability and communication, you have to communicate when you need something.
Yes.
You have to be vulnerable, say, I need help, I need your advice on something. And it doesn't have to be just your partner, but it could be your mentor, your coaches, different people. I know for me, I had strong women and still have strong women in my family, and I grew up around strong women, but I had to overcome that stigma, like you said, that us black women, we can do it all.
Right.
And we can, but that doesn't mean we don't need to do help. Sometimes we need help, and sometimes we need to have someone pick up our groceries because I don't feel like going today.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yes, I love it. Now, I definitely want to talk about a bit of our conversation that we had around imposter syndrome. So can you tell me a little bit about that journey for you? Well, let's first clarify what imposter syndrome is, and then how what your journey with imposter syndrome was.
So for me, imposter syndrome is really when you have those negative thoughts creeping in, literally creeping into your mind to say, who are you to do this? Who are you to set this price of your services? Who are you to offer services like this? You don't have the certifications, the multiple degrees, the stamp of approval by the media to say that you can do this. And so you start cowering back into your corner to say, well, who am I? Why I can't live this loud. I can't make these permissions happen for me. And that is, to me, imposter syndrome, because if this is something you want, then go get it, right? So if you want to have those degrees, that is your choice, and that is your financial choice. But sometimes, and a lot of times, you'll find a lot of people who are doing these things successfully, and they're out there making lots of money and making a lot of net-worthy opportunities speaking. They don't have the degrees that you think you're supposed to have. But if you listen to people's story, which is what I love to do, I love to read and listen to books about people's journeys.
Yes.
It's about the experience. It's about the passion to say, I want this, so I'm going to do this to get it.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the most important thing to avoid imposter syndrome. Don't worry about what other people are saying. They're not paying your bills. They're not living your dream. Because if they were living your dream, it wouldn't be you. And if they were living their dream, they wouldn't be talking about your dream. That's what I remember fondly, is that your dream is yours. Their issues cannot be your issues. So whatever your dreams are, you go after them the way that you see fit. And when that voice creeps up, because it's going to creep up from time to time, push it to the side. Not today.
I feel like I had the opposite experience in that I always knew I could do whatever the fuck I wanted to do if I put my mind to it, because I'm very resourceful. I take action. I'm very organized and systemized, and I'm very single focused. If I say it's happening, it's getting done.
That's awesome.
However, I know the majority of folks, that's an internal battle. But for those of us, so this was more of an external battle for me, in the sense of I would go do things and be things, become things, and the people around me were like, well, who do you think you are? Trying to keep you in your box of maybe who you were or who they think you are. What can you speak to about that? Because that also creates a sense of an imposter syndrome. I never thought about it, but I don't have a college degree. I don't have this. I don't have that. And, so it's getting it from the external sources as well. Did you have that experience?
Absolutely. I had family members who said I wasn't going to do anything in nonprofit. There's not enough money in nonprofits. I also just in personal life, I mean, the way I got married and the kids at the age I had the kids, there's always something. It's always going to irritate somebody else. But that's why I had to learn it's not about them. It's about me. At the end of the day, I wake up and I go to sleep with me, right? So I have to figure out what are the things that make me happy and how am I going to get it. No one else is paying for my master's degree in nonprofit administration. No one else is going to the events that I'm going to network. I'm investing in myself, in my business, because of the passion that I have to serve others.
I love it. I love it. It's your calling. We're all here for a reason. Figure out your reason, figure out why you're doing it, and then find the people and surround yourself with the people that can support you in moving forward in that way. One of them being Miss Smith here. So as we wrap up this episode, I would love for you to talk to the audience directly. And if there's someone out there that is excited about service and, wants to give back and, maybe they want to be entrepreneurial, maybe they don't at this point, but they just have a calling and they feel it and they know it, but they're struggling with this imposter syndrome, what would be some first steps that they can take to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So with what I do, again, I work with nonprofit organizations and social enterprise organizations with their operational strategies. So that is a lot of work, is really going into understanding what that idea or concept is that you have. It could be, like you were saying, something buried deep with you, whether you wanted to start a nonprofit organization, whether you have one started and you want to hire people but you don't know how, or you want to put together a diverse supplier program or anything like that. That's where I come in. I come in not just to implement, but I can come in to coach, to really take you from A to C. And what A is that ambiguity, that gray area in your head to say, I want this, I don't know how to get through it. It's like this gray cloud in there and you don't know how to get to it. I come in and help you by asking the right questions and kind of really understanding what your vision is, as well as what is burning in your passion and your spirit that you want to do. And once we get that clarity, we're going to keep moving towards C, which is clarity, right? So from ambiguity to clarity, that is what we are focused on, to help you strive to do more within the passion and the mission of your organization.
I love it. Yes! And so here's the note we're going to end on, because I'm a wealth mentor and I'm all about how do we turn these passions into dollar signs.
Yes.
So just without being specific, unless you want to be specific, share with me a little bit on the back end, right? Ripping back the curtain financially, how lucrative has this been? Everyone said you're not going to make any money.
Well, I will say that since I went to grad school, and that was back in 2010, that's when I actually started my journey in nonprofit or nonprofit management. So lucrative from a business standpoint, it has been a lot of opportunities with national organizations, local organizations as an employee, but then also in my consulting practice, it has been very lucrative because people just need help. And sometimes they just need that little push. And for me, I get to wake up and be excited to help others, but then also work in my zone of genius. So I get to help you go from ambiguous situations into the reality of the clarity path forward. And it's an amazing journey financially, but it's also very amazing for me as a person because I am living my dream and living my truth.
I love that. I love it. And I think that it's really important what you're saying, because I think everything can be profitable. I interviewed an artist and there's that stigma of the broke artist. But if you have the right partners, the right guidance, the right strategy, which is what you provide, right? Then any of your ventures can be successful and profitable. So it's just a matter of having that intention to create that income or create that wealth with your passion. So I love this. I've had an incredible time with you today. I'm so grateful that you decided to come on with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up this episode?
Absolutely. You hit it on the head again. Open your minds, open your communication vessels, let people know what you need so you can be successful. And whether you're getting a coach or a mentor or you're hiring staff, get the dream that you want to have by doing what you need to invest in yourself and in your business. And at Smith Strategies and consulting, we're definitely here to help. And I am so appreciative for being on here with you today.
Perfect. Share where we can find you.
You can find me at smithstrategiesconsulting.com. And again, my name is Aarica Smith, and all my information is on the website, smithstrategiesconsulting.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with that said, I think we done the doggone thing, didn't we?
We did. We sure did.
So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. I am Patrina Wisdom. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Join us on Facebook in our Badass Bodacious Entrepreneurs group, and tune back in on all the Anchor, Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms so that you can hear more incredible interviews like this one. All right? We love you. Namaste. We'll see you next week.